get from here. And then you just expect a Trundle to come through at some stage. Poppy was a possibility from last game that got snubbed out in the second round of bans, and it was actually Weibo taking that early rotate of the Xayah Rakan that threw things into a little bit of disrepair, as usually we see the top side get taken early on. We'll see jungle, then solo laners picked up, but this time round we may expect to see something a little different with Weibo fluctuating in game 1.
A lot of top lane bans again. I mean, we saw that Top Esports had tried to curb Breathe's effective champion pool with the Ambessa and the Gwen last time around, same as this game, but the Varus is open for the taking, and Light will waste no time in securing that one.
Yeah, Weibo dropped this Varus ban in favor of a Renekton ban, and then Top Esports, really wise actually from Weibo here, because Renekton's one of those big answers to the Ambessa, so they ban the Renekton instead, saying, okay, you either ban Varus and we get Ambessa and you can't pick Renekton into it, or we end up with this situation where we just get Varus for free. Now, JackeyLove responds with the Jhin of his own. Again, another champion that I really love to see JackeyLove on. He plays this champion so well. He's got such good skill shot accuracy as well with those curtain calls. But in the Varus lane in particular, you can actually tend to neutralize the Varus, who's typically a really strong laner, and it might tell Light that he actually has to opt into that poke style as opposed to the on-hit style to make it so that this Jhin can't control the lane as well as usual.
And the nice thing about locking in a Trundle this early as well with a Jhin pairing, obviously the pillar works really great with a Deadly Flourish setup, but also Jhin notoriously hates playing into tanks. Well, Trundle is your answer. So even if they do slam a tank, that Subjugate is going to turn that tank into paper mache. So Weibo more than likely will not opt in for any of the super tanks that we usually see, trying to make Jhin's life a little more difficult. Jarvan and Aurora are the answers for the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already looking at some slight disengage options potentially for Hong. I mean, weirdly enough, Thresh has a lot of value this game if they were to try and delve a little bit deeper, but I do think that it's a little bit too early to try and pick out the Thresh, and we might end up just seeing maybe a Braum come through as a more traditional answer for the support, or maybe just best offense is a good defense and try and keep the Jhin alive through killing the people that go onto them.
Creme was hovering that Akali, which he did net a MVP performance in yesterday's third game of the series against IG, but goes for the Sylas instead because there's a lot of valuable ultimates on the other side of the rift there. So now Top Esports trying to ban out some of these support options that could make trying to fight into Weibo a little bit more difficult. That's why you see the not a ban. Hostile Takeover, very great at being able to either prevent you from diving or just comboing with the lockdown that Jarvan does provide.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rel still up for the taking as well, so it could very well be the takeaway that Top Esports want. I think that giving Rel over to this Weibo composition could be pretty powerful as well. Looking at champs like Nautilus, Leona as well, still supports that are available for either of these sides if they want to end up taking it. I do think that the Sylas innately stops you from wanting to take the Alistar, so maybe expect Weibo to pivot away from that as they move into this. The Rel taken off the board, and I think that Top Esports here, they could just lock for the Leona and then sort of say, well, you take the Alistar if you want to, but you're giving over a really powerful ultimate to the Sylas, or really whatever support you lock in is going to do that.
And the nice thing is that the Alistar was already played in game 1, so there is no real premier support pick left unless you go for the Nautilus, right? I guess that is the last option that is on the board here. Braum was banned as well, so that prevents any other disengage measures that Weibo would have liked to have gone for. Top lane will have to be blinded, though, unfortunately, for Breathe's sake, and so 369 will get his choice of counter.
Maybe preempting the Gwen a little bit here, just by taking the Jax, which is the typical answer to that pick in the current top lane meta. What are they missing so far? I mean, it is just looking for that support, it's looking for that engage. Nautilus looks like the only pick that's left available, but they want something that can go forward. Maybe a Bard even can act as some sort of engage tool as well, especially versus an immobile AD carry like the Jhin. don't mind this if they want to try and play a little bit flexible. Poppy gets locked in into the Leona and the Silas. It's a really, really valuable tool to be able to keep his verdict out, you know, potentially engages. But that blind top lane Jax has been countered here. 369 on the Gragas. This is a very common answer to the Jax.
And 369, this Gragas is a staple. I mean, in the past, 369 has had some incredible performances on Gragas. Unfortunately, last night, I'm going to have to call him out. He did have probably one of the most uncharacteristic stinkers of a Gragas performance. He just absolutely biffed his lane against the Shy's Jace, ended up getting solo killed, and then he got focused on side lane a lot of the time during the game, getting caught out multiple instances. So 369, I'm really hoping for a big Gragas redemption performance because I know how good this guy can be on this champion.
Yeah, and I think that's it's good to see him immediately sort of get back on the wagon, so to speak, right, where he's just said, okay, I have to go back in and do this again, just to put the doubters to rest more so than anything else, knowing that that might have just been a one-off game, and in particular as well, knowing that, you know, you're playing up against the Shy, he's occasionally going to go nuclear on you and have some of those performances in the top side where you start to remember why this guy has previously done so much for the region.
Both of these compositions now locked in here. Rude Weibo still have a little bit of essence of that split push available to them, since Aurora and Jax can be super slippery while trying to apply turret pressure, but at least for themselves, they have more means necessary to opt into those 5-on-5s and not be completely outclassed, whereas Top Esports still leaning into the tried and true of what they know best. Let's get ready for game 2.
Was that an AL gyro?
Yeah, I heard an AL gyro too. So based.
Just
so
thrown
based.
in at the end. Very good. Very good.
Don't worry, y'all. AL and BLG will come back to play this weekend. I think it's this Saturday, so that'll be a good time.
It's a tight turnaround. Tight turnaround for the fellas, unfortunately. But yes, they will.
Quick scan over the runes here. Unsealed spellbook for both of the supports here. So we will see some shenanigans with some smites, maybe with some teleports and ghosts and all sorts of nature of that doing. Now, there's been some debate about whether to go for PTA on Trundle or lethal tempo. I've seen like arguments for both, but normally the PTA is just really nice for better gank setup and just better for like kill setup. Once you come in and you apply that for your team, you're guaranteeing or you're increasing the likelihood of a gank being lethal in that situation.
Yeah, it's much better for your gank capabilities. Lethal tempo is I'm gonna 1v9 kind of style, you know. So we'll keep our eyes out for if Kanavi can utilize this PTA to be that quick, snappy play and sort of engage quite well with the rest of this game. There's early fight from Creme here. This is a lane that the Silas should not be winning. This is notoriously a really difficult laning matchup for Silas, and the fact that Xiaohu already forced to burn a potion and that Creme can sacrifice a couple of minions to try and find that trade is really positive, in fact.
Oh, I love to see this Kanavi get in there. Force an early flash out of Xiaohu. Spiller gonna force the W, even though he's invisible, should still be able to proc the PTA. Large chunk onto Xiaohu, and you know, I'm not gonna lie, Rude, I was very excited. It did chunk Xiaohu to about 50% HP, but Creme also took some damage on the way trying to assist Kanavi in the trade.
Yeah, but this is second wind D-Shield Silas who still has his potion, so Creme is actually absolutely fine, as we do see a quick root coming through. Crisp and Light definitely struggling down on this bot side. -1 for the cannon for trying to greed his auto attack onto the Poppy, but With that being said, overall a 23-18 CS lead for JackeyLove down on that bot side. We discussed the fact that Jin typically a pretty decent laner, especially when you've got a strong support like Leona, and is actually keeping that Varus relatively in check for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, this is now 2 games in a row that they've been doing well. Meanwhile, Tian was looking to see if Creme would be greedy, trying to push and correct this wave, but he is below 50% HP. Just going to take a base here and TP back to lane.
Do we see anybody swap? That's the thing that we've seen frequently from these series so far. Looking out onto the minimap. Yep, JackeyLove is walking topside. Light is walking topside. Xiaohu's looking dead.
Oh, nicely done there. Creme able to layer that Q for the slow run on top, and that forces Xiaohu's hand and burns the flash.
All right, good stuff so far, and I think that this Aurora really struggling in the mid lane, right? Like, this should be, we're already opening up to a 10 CS lead or so, but this is Kanavi coming back to split 2-4. This was our regular season MVP from the LPL English, and with good reason as well. Like, he was carrying games left, right, and center, single-handedly putting the team on his back. But game number 1 was definitely getting a little bit ran by Tian on the Xin Zhao, and now game number 2 starting to put a little bit more emphasis on the fact that he is the king of the jungle.
Hong waiting in the wings. Crisp walks up, gets rooted by JackeyLove and co. Hong now going to be looking for another CC chain, and Crisp, knowing the timer of that spell cooldown on rotation, flashes away.
Yeah, spellbook heal used by both of our supports, but again, nothing really to write home about when you've got this spellbook opening available to you. JackeyLove gets a little decent, or gets traded on there decently by Lighters. With no flash on the Poppy, Hex Flash is now going to be the premier movement of engaging, and looking at how these fights are going to pan out, I'm looking for the bot side fight here with the Drake having been alive, Trundle being one of our best single turret takers, single objective takers as well. He might look to try and take that down a little bit sooner, but Xiaohu at least focused.
Oh no! It was the Goon Squad. Weibo Gaming tried to bait Creme on in, and they pull it off for first blood.
Yeah, it'd been going really well for Creme until he threw his life away without having vision, and again, we have to sort of call back to these concerns that we've had about Creme as a player in the LPL. At this top level, top esports are contending for world's positions. They are looking at international tournaments, and Creme, he is a very solid middle of the pack mid laner, but when we move into this top echelon, he is struggling.
Oh, Light, though, in a world of trouble. Well played by both Hong and JackeyLove to lock him down despite burning cleanse.
Drake got stole.
Kanavi trying... Wait, they stole Dragon, and now Xiaohu's in a world of trouble. And even though Creme did get picked off to lead up to the confidence to take that Dragon in the first place, Weibo Gaming get nothing out of it, and now top esports are back in control.
Yeah. We're going to need to see quite what happened down on that bot side, because that was not the expected outcome, as now Breeze might be able to take down.
Oh, he's forced the flash, and 369 will answer in response, and just ends up being a trade of summoner spells there, and that is the beauty of that matchup for 369. Take a look back at this replay, Rood.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're going to have to see what happened here. Kanavi, does he just walk in? Yep.
No
okay.
way!
And Weibo... Okay, well, I'm very upset that Weibo didn't decide to turn, and they just decided to 50-50. It's my pet peeve. Xiaohu has no flash. Worth calling out, 369's first cask that we get to see on camera is a whiff. We're looking at the performances from previous series and hoping to see some improvements. Currently, not quite the case, but he did evade the attempted play from Breeze down in the bot lane.
Still can't get over the fact that Kanavi just simply walked up and smited the dragon in Tian's face. You can see that they were trying to combo their spells together, but I saw 102. So early on the smite from Tian, or just not being able to fluidly get the damage comboed in, or just overestimating how much damage they had in that rotation.
It was an early smite, yeah. And Tian's so frequently actually a really solid smiter in the LPL, has frequently been able to steal away objectives, but Kanavi, I feel like, just because top esports are so frequently in the ascendancy, we don't get to see Kanavi steal away objectives, but again, is frequently one of those players who can very easily secure them. Now walking around these Void Grubs, Weibo, have they stepped a little bit too far forward, or are they actually absolutely fine and can just take all three?
Yep. Chris was doing.
They pulled up Breathe. Yeah.
Tian still has Smite, 1400, 1200. Should be able to yoink it now. It's 900 level Smite, so all three Grubs are secured. Do they want to force a fight here? JackeyLove might be in trouble, popping the cleanse, and dropped below 50% HP. Does not lose his life, does not have to burn the flash, but Weibo Gaming getting a considerable amount of pressure thanks to Light on this Varus.
Yeah, and I will say as well, Breathe walking up here, his bot wave got frozen on, so he just decided, okay, I will make something happen elsewhere on the map, and he's going to try and walk down to try and break this now. Don't know if it's going to be too easy for him, as actually the second that he just walks up, 369 starts trading aggressively in that wave, and it's looking like for the time being, we're going to see 369 continue to try and run roughshot down on this bot side, keep Breathing in check. And this Gragas counter pick for the time being doing its work versus the Jacks.
Yeah, no flashes on either of these top laners meant that it might have been a hot spot, and Breathe respecting that there could have been a Troll King waiting to try and ruin his day with a giant pillar. Just at 10 minutes on the clock here, Roodood, a minute and 15 seconds before the second dragon does come up online. First item spikes haven't really been reached by either team here, so still waiting to see if any members are able to get some quick bases in, and we'll start to see some fireworks.
Yeah, I will say that the Jin's one item spike is pretty darn powerful. You then end up with a 2 item spike, which is the exact opposite as you build the RFC, but you can really start to fight quite aggressively with Youmu's and start to play quite proactively with that, as JackeyLove waiting for the Rod of Ages to be picked up for Creme, same to be said for the Gragas on that top side and the Trinity Force as well. But right now, I think that Weibo, not too disheveled with where they are at this stage in the game. They are another team that, once again, with this Jarvan, with this Aurora, that 1 item, that 2 item spike hits pretty darn hard, and the Varus as well. Same to be said, but as we move that later and later on into the game, it can get a little bit tricky for them to navigate these situations. Jin may be able to start kiting, start dancing around you, and taking you all down, especially with the separation that Gragas can give you in these team fights.
Yep. Kanavi is spotted on the ward here. A couple members from Weibo sitting in that banana brush waiting for a pick. Kanavi trying to do his best to be safe as he wanders into the shadows. Blast Cone sends him over into the river. Are they still in the banana brush? Yes, they were! And Hong is going to get jumped on, and he tries to throw out the Solar Flare and a flash, dodging out of the Chain of Corruptions, forcing Light to just flash for that piercing arrow. Now it's a 5-on-4 in favor of Weibo Gaming, but doesn't really look like they are super confident about just forcing the issue onto the Dragon, trying to look for poke first and make top esports that much harder at trying to enter into the river.
Yeah, I mean, they still have Keeper's Verdict here, so really wouldn't mind them just starting to hit this up. Crisp now with that level 6 can just, yeah, here we go, punt somebody away. You get rid of the Silas, and the Drake's still quite high HP. Kanavi can once again go for the classic walk maneuver.
Subjugate onto Crisp. He's tanky enough. They're trying to walk up into the Dragon. Don't tell me! Okay, Tian does secure the Dragon this time around, but they've lost Crisp. Tian is able to EQ over back to safety. Curtain Call is going to try to find some stragglers, but Xiaohu able to escape that arc, and Tian tanks up a last bullet, but neither member of the Weibo Gaming roster that still survived goes down, unless... No, Breathe should be fine.
Okay, alright. So, I mean, overall, that's a 1-for-1 of supports and a Drake secured for Weibo. So, really, nobody actually cares. The supports are a little bit like, oh, well, I died, and then everybody goes, yeah, cool, you always die, that's your job. But for these two teams, again, just a little bit slower than we are maybe used to seeing from them in times gone by, as Hong is spending a lot of time down here on this bot side, not actually accomplishing a whole lot, but Breathe is not really under any threat. Quick belly bounce, and everybody's okay.
Rose trying to beat out.
Did they spot Tian?
Hong is back. Oh, no. No, Tian snuck into the shadows of the brush, and 369 knows that he is gone.
And the answer was no. They did not spot the Jarvan there. That's not good. Good feat from Xiaohu here. Gets himself out of the abscond abduct. And both of these sideways were looking pretty decent for top. And the second that Hong actually ends up recalling is the second that the gank comes on through. Like you say, they're crisply focused of this fight. But this time round, it's an early smite from Kanavi that ends up causing Tian to find that smite secure. Breathe doesn't really ever choose to commit, and then JackeyLove with a rare whiff on where he wants to open up the curtain call. Doesn't quite find the angle to potentially punish Xiaohu. So now seeing a big engage, commit to the top side.
Uh-oh. Well, Tian no flash this time around. Once he gets jumped on, he's not going to be able to escape the death squad there from the side of top esports, as they were pressuring for potentially a dive on that top tier 1, but now that they have destroyed the jungler for the side of Weibo, they can just take relish in the fact that they're going to take all of these camps away too.
Yeah, and I mean, that's 2 camps secured for them that otherwise would have been picked up by the Jarvan and would have put Tian that little bit further ahead. Kanavi, though, now ticks over to that level 10, has about 2/3 of a level advantage, which will be very swiftly picked up because jungle XP is a very well-balanced mechanic in the current state of the game. 1k gold lead for top esports currently, which is sat largely on Creme. So once again, one of these situations where we've seen him have slightly shaky performances, definitely been a little bit of a loose cannon for top esports, but somehow, some way, he's still finding significant advantages. And again, a reminder that this is a really awful matchup for the Silas. The Aurora supposed to be the one coming out in the ascendancy through the early game.
Yeah. JackeyLove might be a target here. Oh no, it's just 369 again. He has flash, but I don't know where he's gonna go. He's just getting bounced around, flashing away the Cataclysm for what?
Nice.
Still goes down.
Yeah. Tian with a really well-timed Cataclysm there, uses it to unstoppable or immune the CC from the cask, and 369 pays the iron price here, falls for the second time in almost as many minutes, and now Creme on this top side. Quick little tap onto the turret whilst his team takes the Rift Herald, and overall, not the worst trade in the world for top esports, but they would really love to see 369 continue to get gold and maybe be able to answer this Jax.
Yeah, neither top laner, or just as I say that, Seraphs or Archangels has been picked up now for 369. Trinity Force still waiting to be completed here by Breathe. Now, potential angle here for top esports as this next dragon is coming up. There is still no flash on Breathe if they want to try make a quick dive. And Creme is trying to set it up here. Grandmaster Smite already used, but now with the teleport coming in, Kanavi is trying to bail. There's another teleport from 369, but I guess that'll allow him to pick up this wave and match Xiaohu for now. Top esports. Does this put them in a better position to contest for this dragon?
Well, no. No, when the top laner TPs to top lane,
yeah,
not the greatest. But Grandmasters might used from the Jax. Maybe you can argue that's going to be a pretty big tool. Subjugate wasn't used by Kanavi. And Creme probably going to be able to take somebody else's ult. Maybe small advantage getting secured for top esports, but very real possibility that 369 just gets focused out under this turret once a game here. As instead the recall starts to come through, maybe realizing that actually that dragon does indeed spawn in 7 seconds time, as Xiaohu takes a quick junk onto 369 and sort of baiting that the rest of his team are still there, which they at this stage were not.
Yeah. Weibo clearing out some of these bot camps and getting ready to walk on into the river, or at least attempt to control the vision line. Oh, that one ward that was placed above the red buff brush is not sought out by Weibo Gaming, so top esports have a nice little pocket that will be uncontested here by Weibo Gaming in terms of unseen vision. And Light and JackeyLove just doing their best as these Yomos 80 carries trying to push out the wave as fast as possible. This repair will be dropped, and that is the call for Top Esports to try and cheat this dragon.
Yeah, now the turret going to take a battering from that Rift Herald. Crisp able to navigate this, and now Keeper's Verdict.
They put it him out. Tian's trying to walk up. It's still 3,000 HP. Creme trying to do the best he can to keep the dragon away from Tian's hands. Creme will fall forward. Kanavi walks back up. Who gets it? Kanavi secures the dragon. Hong flashes over the wall, and everyone else from Top Esports gets out. Xiaohu in trouble, forced to flash away from the 369 Gragas. And man, Rude, that could have been disastrous for Top Esports.
Yeah, but it's actually Creme this time, I think, giving his life for a just cause.
Yeah.
Spends a lot of time distracting Tian, distracting Crisp, meaning that the rest of his team can get in and secure that dragon. Sacrifices a little bit of its individual gold, meaning that you get to see the Aurora close that gold gap just a little bit. But the second he spots Tian here, he's immediately jumping on top of the Jarvan, causing as much trouble for Tian as possible. And yes, he ends up getting focused down. Man-made Cataclysm means that the Poppy stun into the wall is really easy, and I'll argue that flashing there is maybe the most criminal thing that I've seen him do all day. But the purpose and the reasoning behind his movement was very solid.
Yeah. Tian quick visit to the top side. That burns 369's flash. We'll see if Weibo can punish that in the next 4 to 5 minutes while it is down. And Top Esports still trying to find a window where they can get that significant gold advantage and leverage it over Weibo Gaming. The pressure that they have, though, between Hong and Kanavi all on this bottom side of the map will guarantee that they secure this tower for themselves. Unfortunately, it is not first brick since Weibo already picked that up a while ago.
Yeah, and again here, this is to remind people the two teams that swapped supports are two big ticket teams where we actually got to see a meaningful swap between our two players coming through. And I will say that Crisp so far on this Poppy has been, I won't say underperforming, but not quite managing his Poppy ultis as well as we might need him to. Usually you want to save those Keeper's Verdicts for when the crunch time hits, not when the Drake has still got enough HP to be sustained on. And we need to see that little bit more from Crisp. I will think that Hong as well has been a little bit along for the ride, not necessarily playing poorly, not necessarily making those instrumental picks that win you the game. And the expectation coming in may be that we would expect to see Crisp have a little bit more of that playmaking possibility, but so far has not really been the case.
Yeah, if I'm going to be honest here, Rude, the standouts have been both of the junglers this game. Tian 4-1 on the Jarvan. And even though, there's a couple moments where it did miss the first dragon of the game, it could have been, 2 dragons to the name instead of 2 dragons over to the side of Top Esports. Relatively, he has been putting in a lot of work and finding some early pressure, being able to at least secure all 3 grubs for themselves, and the Cataclysm is still very much a very powerful ultimate to use against champions like Jhin and Trundle that just don't have a way out once they're locked in and have no flash.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the Jhin in particular is really going to struggle. They're looking for Crisp, though.
He's pinned against the wall. Curtain call should set up. One more bullet in the chamber. JackeyLove finds it. Just going to send the 4th one for fun as Xiaohu was not in the arc anymore. This is a 5-on-4 on the map advantage now. Tian is going to make sure that Kanavi will stop chasing him for the pursuit as JackeyLove needs to pick up this mid wave. Otacon is available for the taking, but Crisp with teleport and coming up in 10 seconds, it's not enough time for Top Esports to look for the objective quite yet.
Yeah, and they don't really have a good TP angle for 369 either. Might have expected to see him base, come back out onto the map and force breathe to sacrifice a little bit here.
I like it. Tian just saying, all right, JackeyLove, flash right now. And JackeyLove said, yes, daddy, I will flash. And unfortunately now, the Jhin is going to be a prime target for Weibo Gaming in the next fight.
We'll get to see whether or not Tian can continue to call himself JackeyLove's father as we move into the remainder of the game, because Jhin with no flash is a sitting duck for a Jarvan, and I think that a 2-item Jarvan as well, no doubt, will be able to take the 1v1 versus a Jhin very, very easily. We do see 369 is just use belly bounce.
Might be in trouble here. Grandmasters might use by Breathe just for a little bit of extra laning pressure. 369 does have some decent sustain on this Gragas pick, but it will take a while to get back up to full HP. We'll see if Breathe can at least lock him down, since both of these top laners do have teleport. And I don't know if Weibo want to just force the push on the split or try and give Breathe the teleport advantage here.
With Atakan available as well, if there is a big fight that breaks out here, expect that to be the secondary consequence of how this skirmish plays on out. 369, about 75% HP, so has regenerated a good amount of it. Here they go, though.
Good patience by Top Esports. Pull Tian away. Fight onto the left side. Hong flashing forward, trying to zone, but Creme is now in a world of trouble, and he goes down. 369 already teleporting to the fight, but he's got nowhere else to run. He's forced to flash over the wall. Weibo Gaming easily able to deal with him, as well as being able to lock down Creme and set him up for the kill. This is now a 5-on-4, and they're going to start the Otacon.
Yeah, and just as we highlighted, right, like, if you end up losing out on that fight, expect the Atakan to be the consequence of this. Kanavi, though, still has Smite, still has Flash. Not a really great way for Weibo to keep him out. We're looking at Crisp. How well is that Keeper's Verdict going to be used?
He walks up, he punts out Kanavi. Now Weibo Gaming have to burn it down.
Fourth shot.
Doesn't have the Smite for the Unsealed Spellbook. Otacon is secured by Tian. And all Weibo need to do just is to walk away. They have done their job, Roodood.
Perfect. That's exactly what we need from Chris. That's really solid play from the Poppy. Use that Keeper's Verdict, punt the Trundle out of the way, and then you can begin to DPS down the Atacon. That was really solid play by Weibo Gaming. They knew exactly how they needed to approach this, and good to see that we're getting that development just in the game here from Crisp.
Weibo definitely need to continue locking down these solid plays, because they are staring down a potential Ocean Soul empowered Top Esports in the next 3.5 minutes, since Top Esports have been able to secure the past 2 dragons. Creme picking up a stray turret that was kind of hanging on the top side of the map for a while now. A little bit of extra gold. But so far, Roodood, the nice thing is, hang on. Okay, the pillar at least slows down Weibo, and Creme will yoink away the Between Worlds ultimate. But I have to say, Weibo at least showing a lot more firepower. I know that game 1 they were kind of fake even, just because there was a lot of dedicated split pushing with the Yorick, but it seems like this game overall is much more competitive than it was in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, this stage in game number 1, it was a couple thousand gold lead for Top Esports, and they were, you know, coming out largely on top in most fights, whereas this time round it's been Weibo who are just barely able to come out on top during those fights. And, you know, looking forward, I expect that to kind of continue for a little bit here. We have got a very close break point for the Varus, about to hit that 3-item marker. Same to be said though for JackeyLove, but looking at the Aurora, very strong. 2-item spike for Breathe as well has been connected, meaning that he's now going to start moving into those tanky items, looking for that Zhonya's Hourglass, being able to threaten the backline consistently. And what I will say as well is that JackeyLove's flash cooldown is about to come back up, has about a minute left on that one, and we were praising Tian for his ability to just burn that at will. But it doesn't look like they're going to have generated too much of an advantage from this overall.
You haven't had a chance to find him on the map yet, and whether that is a fault of Weibo's or a credit to JackeyLove for...
He's an AD carry. I can tell you where he is. He's not lost.
Well, they're going to go for a different target. Creme already using the dash on the upsgun abduct, and no flash on that Silas. You know, they didn't punish JackeyLove, but they did punish someone.
Well, Creme, again, becoming moderately notorious for his ability to be punished, and unfortunately just checking out a little bit too much of his own jungle there, and maybe thinking that his team would be faster to back him up, or just thinking that they were closer by. Either way, falls for the 4th time this game, and 3, maybe 2 of those we've argued have been relatively unjust in terms of deaths. I'm going to have to see Top Esports continue to play this out. A lot of accelerated gold being put into various members of Weibo, just by nature of Creme having gone down a little bit too frequently.
Yeah. About a minute away from that Ocean Dragon Root. A reminder, this is Soul Point for Top Esports, and already they're putting in a lot of investment into early vision control. They know that as soon as that is secured for themselves, a lot of the damage that Weibo Gaming has in their back pocket, it's mostly burst, it's mostly poke. That can all be shrugged off by exchanging in combat and getting that Ocean Soul to top you back off.
We'll see whether or not Weibo are happy with this. Currently 4 people strong down on that bot side, making sure that they're able to try and fish back and claw some of that vision as well. 3 items hit for both of our marksmen though, as Cyrilda's picked up 4 light, and now we see 369 again in trouble.
Tried to force the flash away and the body slam, but the Cataclysm locks him in, throws out the cast, tries to get some damage down. Not really doing that much over to Tian, but does he survive? 369 goes back in for one last body slam before he hits the grave. Tian now in trouble. Good EQ, escapes from Creme as he casts his own Cataclysm, but now he's on the run, forced to flash away. Breathe joins the fray and forcing out the mid laner of Top Esports. Tian is quite low on HP here, but Top Esports might not have enough strength to brute force their way into the river this time.
Crisp did use Keeper's Verdict to interrupt JackeyLove's curtain call. It's not going to be enough though to incentivize Kanavi to try and go for a steal. They don't need to deny this one as Breathe hops in. Good disengaged pillar coming through from Kanavi. They just want to establish this mid push, but they're still down on numbers here, and Breathe probably going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, he's got a Seeker's Arm Guard. He's got Flash. He's got the hops with the Leap Strike. The Counter Strike prevents any damage from JackeyLove coming on in from Kanavi as well. And Top Esports trying to do their best to see if they can control this top river and look for a cheesy Baron angle potentially if it is presented. But right now, Weibo have all returned back to the map and they're ready to contest.
Yeah, really worried for Top Esports at this stage. Looking for Tian
Flash
now.
on Tian. They know that he doesn't have flash, but he still has an EQ. Gets over the pillar. Kanavi flashing, trying to guarantee the kill onto the other jungler, but he's locked in with the rest of Weibo Gaming! And Kanavi falls without getting a single killing blow. Tian survives. Disaster for Top Esports, and Weibo starting to thrive in Game 2.
Yeah, Crisp does fall, so it is a 1-for-1 overall, but again, you're happy to keep your jungler alive when we've got Baron up and available. Breathe now threatening. They want to defend this tier 1 turret.
Well, it falls, and Creme sending it with the Between Worlds. Seeker's Arm Guard popped by Breathe. Potentially locked down low on mana, but enough for a counter-strike to prevent any damage from auto attacks. Curtain Call, flying with the bullets. One more, it's blocked by Xiaohu, and Breathe gets a chance to survive on the exit for that one. Top Esports doesn't look like they'll get a chance to push in for another tier 2 turret push here.
Quintessential Top Esports. They just team fight better. They're down, it feels like, in all of these situations, but they're coming out on top. That gold is not favoring them anymore. We're looking across the board at deficits on that top side, but still, Weibo can't find the fight that puts the nail in the coffin for this one, and Top Esports are just barely limping their way through this.
Baron still an objective that could be looked at. Tian, gotta be careful about looking for vision here. Thankfully, the safety of EQ as well as the newly acquired Guardian's Angel will give him a second life to play for in these fights. So we'll have a little bit more confidence to go for bold Cataclysm plays, just trying to lock down or burn summoner spells from the backline of Top Esports. Still 2.5 minutes before another dragon spawns, another chance for a soul for Top Esports.
Baron live this whole time as well. Last time around it was the Atacon, which was likely to be that secondary objective. This time around we're likely to see teams head toward that Baron if there's a particularly convincing fight that happens. Eyes are turning towards the Top Esports solo laners who have been honestly very much underperforming. We look across the board at who's died in this game. 4 deaths for Creme, 3 deaths for 369, and again, probably 4 of those, 2 apiece, could have been prevented, weren't necessary, and have led into significant trauma for Top Esports this game. They've had to deal with so much more struggles than they would do usually because their solo laners are getting caught out a little bit on side lane, are being that little bit too overzealous. For the time being, it hasn't cost them the game, but it's definitely cost them status in it. If If it happens once more, it could very easily be the tool that ends up taking them away.
This game is so close, Roodood. I'm definitely here for it, but the tension is practically just emanating from the screen right now. And for Weibo Gaming, they have done so many good things this game to try and correct from the wrongs that they were not able to make up for in Game 1 to give them what could have been a pretty impressive Game 1 win with the way they played the map. This time around, it's been trying to take two top esports at their own game in these team fights. And like you alluded to, sometimes they can find small wins, but not wins big enough to get game-winning leads. And right now, Weibo just trying to set up that proactive vision to deny top esports a safe entryway into this bottom river.
Recalls have come through for top esports. They are at maximum strength that they could be as they walk back out onto Summoner's Rift. Kanavi and Hong, the duo, trying to face check their way through this bot side jungle as it's not easy for them to gain access. Varus going to be poking away at them. Good little chunk onto Creme there. Great example of this, and with Breeze on just a little bit of a unique angle there, causing them to have to think twice. Dragon has now spawned. Creme steals away that Varus ultimate. It's 369 though who gets a little bit of a chunk taken onto him. Xiaohu not messing around. He's had a very marked turnaround from game number 1. From getting caught out time after time to now finding himself in a pretty good spot.
The Scuttle Crab will be secured by Kanavi. Keeper's Verdict winding up, punts away. One of the members here looks like it was Creme sent back, but
now this is top's time, right? Like there's no ulti to stop Kanavi from taking this dragon. Yeah, there's a little bit of poke here. 369, he's got teleport though, so if he needs to go back to base, he can get back out onto the map. He needs to decide to do this sooner rather than later though.
There's a ward that was in that pit. It is gone. Plenty of health on this dragon.
But it's hard for the Leona to mark a Jax because he can just counter-strike and go through you. Now teleport's coming in. Now 369 can mark the Jax, and all of a sudden Hung can take a better position more aggressively to defend the dragon, to defend his team as well.
This dragon take is such on a knife's edge. 369 might be caught here, but Tian is punted in with that explosive cast. CC chain, so good. Tian caught in a world of trouble, and can Weibo Gaming bail him out? He sends an EQ flag right onto the backline. JackeyLove flashes away and gets enough distance. Now he opens up with the curtain call. Top Esports, this is their home turf. This is their home playing ground, and Top Esports have no equal when it comes to team fighting. Weibo Gaming lose 4, lose the Ocean Soul, and Top Esports have full control.
And they'll take the Baron off the back of this as well, Raafaa. It's once again Top Esports team fighting that comes up clutch. 369 separates the pack. Tian immediately burst into his Guardian Angel, and Breathe cannot do enough to survive, to sustain his team and get them back in control. The Baron will fall. Top Esports will go back into control of this game and begin to open up that gold lead once again.
And you can see how frustrated Tian was in particular, just scratching his head, just wondering how a setup that looked okay went so wrong so fast.
And the timing on the cask is beautiful. He buffers it so that as he gets knocked up, he's channeling that. He puts Tian to the other side, and just because of the terrain that Top Esports control, they're able to find the way into this fight again and get there faster. 369, not just with the cask, but also with the second body slam that stopped JackeyLove getting chain CC'd and taken down. Tian and Breathe both jumped onto him, but there was a body slam that just barely prevented a counter-strike coming through and kept JackeyLove alive.
Yep. It was right in that window where JackeyLove was trying to cleanse any of the incoming stuns, and had that not occurred from 369, that fight is completely different. JackeyLove completely taken out. No chance for the curtain call. No chance for further bullets from that Jin chamber. And Top Esports now, off the back of that play, they were slightly behind Weibo, for the most part even. Now find themselves nearly 3,000 gold ahead. Ocean Soul in their back pocket as well. Weibo Gaming The game's not over, but it is no longer in their control. In Top Esports, it's now, the onus is on them to win this game.
Yeah, and I think that Tian now, at this 4.5 item spike, extra BF sword in his back pocket, is a genuine cause for concern as Tian forced to flag and drag out to safety, but it's the tier 2 turrets that are the focus for Top Esports. Creme level 18 already on this, and it's just a zoning ult to get away from our tier 2 turret. We're going to take this.
Some poke and chunks on the health bars of Weibo Gaming too on the exit. Kanavi stepping on forward with this trundle, trying to fish for pillars to combo with JackeyLove or Hong. So the rest of Weibo will be able to pick up this wave and prevent sieging onto the inhibitor tower into the bottom side of the map. Everything else feels threatened. Breathe trying to maintain this mid wave under control, but Kanavi is just trying to escort these minions, protect them so that they are doing considerable damage to the inhibitor tower.
Like you say, right, with Ocean Soul, there's a very real possibility that weak spells are just going to heal up Top Esports. Tian goes in, though.
Oh, no. Tian is going to get brought super low. He heals back off with the Sunder Sky, forced to flash away. With the Between Worlds, it separates the pack, but the rest of Top Esports corralled onto the back line of Breathe, and now they get to press on forward. The Ocean Soul paying dividends. So much work with the healing. It's going to give Top Esports the second win necessary to push into the base.
And they'll take the inhibitor as well. Only the bot lane, but again, when we look at that Baron timer, Baron buff wears off. They've already taken an inhibitor. Tian looking once again, though. Defender's advantage mean they can get out quick.
Right onto 369 and Hong. Forces the flash out of the Gragas, but now Tian has to walk away. Another curtain call is about to hit Weibo Gaming in the base. Fourth bullet, a lot of damage onto Chris. Not enough to take him out as Creme pushing in this mid wave.
I mean, that should be it for Top Esports. Take your wins, cut your losses, head back out. Bot inhib going to be down for the duration of this Elder dance, most likely for the Baron dance as well. So, small pressure for Weibo Gaming. They'll be grateful rather that the inhib is down in the bot lane. As long as they can push that wave up, they can maintain it whilst they're jockeying for position around the Elder. It's not going to be too detrimental to them. Until we start turning our attention up towards that Baron. That's when we're going to get to see Top Esports really start to come into their own, where we will see their map movements begin to be exemplified. And you can actually already see that they are the ones pushing out, trying to make sure that they can claim control over this top side. Maybe hoping that they can break open that top inhibitor before they can go to that Elder. But with 90 seconds on it, looks like they're cutting it a little bit thin here.
There is a world where if Weibo still have all 5 members and find a way to steal this Elder Dragon, that would be the reverse Uno card, much needed to turn this game around to bring us to a Game 3. Top Esports, I imagine, would do their due diligence to make sure that that is not even a reality seen in this timeline. Still 5,000 gold ahead of Weibo Gaming at this time, and just trying to play the sieging game, trying to get as much pressure as they could. I would even be okay if Top Esports wanted to just continue this siege push and then look for at least trying to split Weibo Gaming up and just not even open up the angle for an Elder Dragon.
I think that's how they want to be taking these fights. I think the Gragas cask is always going to have so much impact in how these fights are played out that it's really going to come down to how well 369 is able to deploy it. We're at pretty much maximum capacity for the majority of our members at this stage. I think that once Tian finishes off that, I think it's a Sterax that he's working on again. This Jarvan becomes even more daunting, but quick summoner spell check-in, everything available except for the flash from 369 and from Tian. Cleanse taken on the spellbook for Crisp here, so he's going to be looking to try and keep himself in the front line. Flash
from Hong, Zenith Blade goes wide, but the Solar Flare does connect, forcing the flash out of Crisp. Oh, the pillar interrupted him while he was channeling the Keeper's Verdict! Hong still goes in, low on HP, gets bursted out by Light. Creme following up with a Seeker's Arm Guard already popped. Breathe onto the back line, but good cask. Punts it away from JackeyLove so he can still continue firing, but Weibo Gaming is trying to win the fight. Breathe goes in with the counter strike, pops him on the head, looking for another one. JackeyLove has the G.
timing!
Can he? What 1v4 this. He's already only him. And the rest of Weibo Gaming still have their jungler. They still have a smite. They're going to look for the Elder Dragon, but JackeyLove has to be a hero. He has to kill. All the members of Weibo Gaming are trying to look for a steal. The Keeper's Verdict will punt him away. Weibo Gaming,
still go.
This Elder Dragon is still at 100% HP. Can JackeyLove make the difference?
He has to look. He's going to get caught.
He still has a GA. He's healing so much from the Ocean Soul Root. Chris dies.
That's one.
JackeyLove is immortal. He's killing them all. The G is popped. Tian might be able to look for him now again. And patience is rewarded for the side of Weibo Gaming. Elder Dragon secured.
And just not enough vision. That's the power of sweepers, everybody. If only you could just put a couple of blue wards down, or if he could just auto-attack the people that he just can't see. Jackie probably comes up with a quadra kill there. It means that it's Elder on 2-3. Crisp and Breathe are the ones that don't have it. It also means that there's no AD carry for this potential Baron contest. An early engage from Top Esports, but unfortunately, Tian, 4-man Cataclysm, barely is able to survive, as Creme on this front line just absorbs a little too much and doesn't manage to get the work done. 369 is clutch keeping his AD carry alive, and with good reason. We saw the power that JackeyLove had, but the rest of this fight, just not quite enough. And that timing on the auto, he's firing it while Counter-Strike is up, but times it so that he knows it will be down by the time that it lands. Gets punted away, and this is just a case of vision. Tian knocks him up with the flag and drag. Chris not quite able to get him into the wall, but if he'd had any vision or anything to work with here, he just wouldn't be walking into darkness. He flashes forward, and it's a great bunny hop actually from Xiaohu, which cancels his auto, and he flash fourth shots the dragon, of all things. If there'd have been one extra bullet onto maybe one extra member, maybe the entire fight goes differently.
The Weibo Gaming coach. I feel that sentiment so much, because Weibo were down 5,000 gold before that Elder fight. It went huge, but so much tension, so much nerves were on the line when fighting up against JackeyLove, who could have just had the craziest 1v4 had anything gone differently. But now with the push, Elder on their side, Baron secured. Weibo Gaming might just send us to game 3. We'll see how far they go.
30 seconds left on the Elder. It's now or never. It's this wave or never for Weibo. Punt trying to come through. Clears out the wave, actually, which stalls the engage. 20 seconds now on this Elder. Can they clear these minions? Baron still there.
Explosive cast kills some of the wave, but they're pushing through the Nexus Towers. Curtain Call trying to dissuade them. Now Weibo Gaming find themselves untouched, immortal, everyone full hit the Nexus. We're going to game 3.
Weibo claw back in this game and push us to a third match. A massive fight around the bot side, around the Elder, sends us to game number 3. And my oh my, that was an incredible series, but we've got another game still to go for it, Raafaa. These two teams just continuing to deliver.
One clutch fight is all Weibo Gaming needed to slingshot themselves back into the driver's seat, and how relieving it must feel for that squad after you could see the frustrated expressions on the looks of Weibo, especially Tian, in that one fight where they just go, guys, how did we lose this Ocean Soul over to Top Esports? We had a decent setup, we were playing so patiently, and then it disappeared like that. But they held their ground, they play through bot, they walk up to the Elder, get ready to contest, and somehow, someway, Roodood, they finesse a comeback. And now Top Esports, they're back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I mean, importantly as well, I think that Weibo taking this game, puts a little bit of a check mark on however this series ends up going. Whether it's a 2-1 or a 2-0, I think that in best of threes is actually really important. With Top Esports being one of the contenders that we're looking at as potentially being the top end of regular season, Weibo being able to take a game from them in a best of 3 as a statement, as a part 1, is always going to be really important. So keep our eyes for how well that develops, and whether these game scores do end up meaning quite a lot as we move later on. But Weibo putting themselves back to series point now. They can just take this series 2-1 if they're able to find a successful second game.
Yeah. And that kind of resilience is going to be important for this roster in the long run. Remember, this
Absolutely.
is for the road to Worlds. You know, a double round robin, a best of threes. You have to qualify either as the top 4 teams to automatically get you a bye into playoffs, or if you are the bottom 4, then you will have to play a playoff series to then get in to the road to playoffs, the road to Worlds. And the most exciting thing about this split, Rood, is that there's genuinely 7 teams that we could look at on paper from Group Ascend, and we go, yeah, we can see them going to Worlds.
I think that importantly, right, I sort of even up until the end of regular season of Split 2, we would have probably argued maybe 5 or 6, but with the playoffs and with the way that playoffs developed in Split 2, I mean, 6 or 7 is definitely not underselling it by any means. As we now get to see the post-game stats, and you can see that is the LPL gold graph that we all know and love, right? It is just constantly swinging, toing and throwing between different teams. A 5k gold lead for Top Esports that they lost. And coming out of this, Weibo with an incredible victory. I think Tian, for me, the undoubted MVP, but we'll see what the rest of the composition of people think about that. As for me, like, you know, does a good portion of the damage, 38% of his team's damage in this game, but I think that Tian's setup through the early and mid game was absolutely instrumental, and the fact that he's able to make these big plays in the late game is also really important.
Yeah. That first dragon, you know, definitely stings a little bit, but I agree. Every other objective that Weibo were able to control was thanks to Tian and being able to find really strong engages, cataclysm setups as well.
I mean, both junglers really this game were doing incredibly well, right? Like that's just the case, is that they were both doing very good work. And I mean, we get to see some of the highlights of the game and see that there are certain issues that do need to be addressed for maybe both of these two teams, as with the solo laners for Top Esports this game being in particular a bit of a liability and catching themselves off guard. Oof, that is depressing to watch. But this is where it all went really well for Top Esports. It's a well-positioned cask, but for the rest of Top Esports, you look at this team fight and then you think, well, how couldn't we get something that went this well for the rest of it? Unfortunate story really just comes from the fact that your team fighting didn't quite have the matchup almost. Even with an Ocean Soul, they got caught in a 4-man cataclysm by Tian in the end, and ended up costing them incredibly massively. Like I think this is the fight that seals the deal here, as it's Hong that goes a little bit wide. But look at Tian with this engage, honestly. 4-man cataclysm, immediately bails out and lives. They take a lot of damage onto Hong, who ends up going down, and 369 is just getting chewed through this entire time, and he doesn't even do anything through this team fight. Flashing forward, taking down every single person that really dares to challenge them. I mean, I think that JackeyLove earned his flowers for this game, but unfortunately not quite strong enough to be able to deal with everything that Weibo had in the locker.
Yeah. I will say, if you are still a Top Esports fan, despite all of the heartbreak of the Split 2 playoffs and the disappointment at first stand, and you're still sticking through them thick and thin, JackeyLove is playing much more consistently, I think, so far in these opening 2 days. I know that, you know, in the previous game, there was a couple picks that he got fell victim to as the Sivir. But, I mean, the Sivir ricochet damage on the way out was still pretty damn nasty, and being able to, you know, throw those boomerangs out as you are falling to the ground dead, you know, that's some gangster shiz right there. But player of the game does go to Tian, who is able to orchestrate that game-winning reverse comeback fight on the bottom side of the map. Super resilient, even in such a disappointing Ocean Soul fight that you could see that he was very visibly frustrated with. But you know what? They locked in and they got it done. And now with that, it means that we are going the distance on this series, y'all. Game 3 coming your way right after this break.